This video is going to be a hybrid reaction / film study look at how the Seahawks defense was able to overcome another pedestrian day by the Seattle Seahawks offense and help push Mike Macdonald's group to 6-5 overall, now tied atop the NFC West. Seattle's offense for the second week in a row produced less than 300 yards overall, only averaged 2.6 yards per rush. So how did they get this done? Well, the defense was phenomenal, operating out of almost exclusively a nickel personnel grouping with Rayshawn Jenkins, Kobe Bryant, and Julian Love on the field at the same time. They have now held the 49ers and the Cardinals to a combined 23 points in the last 8 quarters, the last 2 weeks, their 2-game winning streak. Like I said earlier, climbed to 6-5. Neither the 49ers nor the Cardinals got above 300 yards of offense. This is Seattle's best game of the year against the run, and again, they did it from a nickel platform with a too-high safety structure, even on short yardage situations. I have to talk about Ernest Jones IV a little bit. He has 47 tackles in 4 games with the Seahawks. They could easily be on a 3-game win streak were it not for that failed 4th down run in overtime against the Rams 3 weeks ago, and then Stafford obviously going crazy on the game-winning drive with a touchdown pass to Demarcus Robinson. Kobe Bryant had the 69-yard interception return against the Cardinals on a 4th and 1 or 4th and 2. He's played essentially 100% of the snaps in the last 5 games, 92%, I think, 5 games ago, and then 100% the last 4 weeks. Rayshawn Jenkins returned from IR to play 29 snaps as a nickel defender. The run defense had been a real issue up to and then through the Bills game. They had averaged allowing 148 yards on the ground following Ernest Jones' first game with Seattle, when they lost 31-10 at home to the Bills. Since then, Seattle's defense is allowing 82 yards per game on the ground. They're now above 500, heading into road games against the Jets and then a rematch with the Cardinals. Sunday against Arizona, they allowed 0 rushing first downs, and the Cardinals, who operate oftentimes out of heavy tight end sets, were only able to produce 49 yards on the ground on 14 carries. Well, how'd they get it done? We're going to take a look at 16 or 18 plays here. We'll obviously spend some time talking about this one. This is 4th and 1 in the 3rd quarter. There's Kobe Bryant, Julian Love, Devin Witherspoon, Tariq Woolen on as the corners kind of setting the edge. Too high safety look on 4th and 1. Beautiful spin move by Devin Witherspoon. And in this case, Kobe Bryant ends up in the right place at the right time. Witherspoon stops celebrating for a moment, long enough to go and block James Conner and allow him not to track down Kobe Bryant. Camera's kind of shaking. I'm guessing it's because the stands or the stadium was as Kobe Bryant jumped into the end zone, basically to put the game away. Arizona was able to get into field goal range and cut it to 13-6 at one point. Missed a field goal later on in the game. Seattle's offense really didn't get a whole lot done, but they were able to retain possession of the ball and secure their 2nd win in a row. So we're going to go through, like I said, 16 or 18 plays here. How'd they stop the run? What were they doing defensively? Generally operating with Rayshawn Jenkins as a nickel defender, Woolen and Witherspoon as the outside corners, 2 safeties. Don't get me wrong, they did play Josh Jobe. Often he's actually involved in one of the penultimate plays, a near touchdown by Marvin Harrison Jr. in the first half. This is a free rush for Boye Mafe. Leonard Williams played like a monster. The Cardinals oftentimes release the 2 tight ends from the same side from a formation standpoint. Running back, in this case, leaking out into the flats. Boye Mafe not concerned at all. Hit straight to the quarterback. No one blocking him at all. The left tackle, Paris Johnson, releases him for whatever reason. This is first possession of the game. Very next play, after that sack, which was on the 2nd and 6, this is a 3rd and 14, and it's a 3 safety look, but they're also at the sticks or close to it. It's a 3rd and 14, like I said, so the line to gain is the positive 46. Both inside linebackers blitzing, and I think you're trying to get a pick set here by Ernest Jones on the offensive guard. In this case, the defensive tackle doesn't fold underneath, but thankfully Tyrese Knight is able to get off the blocker and get a 2nd sack on the first possession. So here's what we're talking about. Knight is lined up over the center. Jones is going to go and try to pick this guard. Reed does not underlap or fold underneath, He He goes up the field, essentially knocking a bowling ball into one of the offensive linemen. So they're trying to draw the running back and then have Jones pick the guard. Reed chooses not to slide underneath, but what happens by the running back, going to Jones is once Tyrese Knight is able to shed this block, he folds underneath and gets another sack, like I said, on the first possession. They were swarming early. It looked like they had 12 players on the field. It's kind of unbelievable that you're doing this out of a nickel platform. How were they able to get it accomplished? The defensive tackles were winning at the point of attack often. So it really didn't matter who was on the field. Reed, Hankins, Williams, those guys, especially if they were singled like Hankins is here by the center. Watch him take the center and just long arm frame him up, set him back inside, forcing the running back to wind it back to Hall, and then Williams is also going to swim off of the offensive guard. It's a 2-yard gain on a 1st and 10, second possession. The tone had already been set. I wasn't able to watch the game until later Sunday night. As you guys know, I cover the Lions and did a reaction video there. So when I said this is a hybrid reaction / film study look, this is what I mean. I think this play right here gives you an indication of how and why they were able to accomplish this out of a nickel platform. So whether it's 12 personnel, 21, whatever you want to call it, I think you've got 2 tight ends on the field. One of them just happens to be lined up at fullback. Look at what Seattle's in. They're in essentially an underfront, but you've got a 2-gap bubble. So there's an open B gap and an open C gap by alignment. Well, check out what happens here. Dealing with the front side guard, basically just takes him and sets him back inside. Knight is able to fold over the top of that defensive tackle, and you have Hall kind of compressing this edge. So there's really no gap there, no seam, even though the front side inside linebacker, Jones, and the nickel defender, Jenkins, is uninvolved at the point of attack at all. There's tremendous effort happening here by everyone involved. And Mike Macdonald seems to have, I don't know if I want to say solved the problem of their run defense, but again, the last 3 weeks, including the 49ers game, the win, the rematch, 20-17, they did allow 131 yards on the ground. It was 228 in the first game against them at home. So something seems to have been fixed, or something seems to have been addressed. From a simplistic standpoint, the defensive tackles were just kicking ass on Sunday. This is 3rd possession now, 1st and 10 for Arizona. Look at what you've got from a personnel standpoint. 3 tight ends on the field, one of them in the backfield in a pistol set. Rayshon Jenkins was doing a great job communicating things to the outside corners and to the safeties. As a veteran guy, he seems to be someone that's making calls often. Ernest Jones and Tyrese Knight are there. And again, you've got the defensive tackle pushing the offensive guard back into the backfield, Hall compressing it. And so you can see Knight, Hankins, Hall, all triangulating it. Ernest Jones is able to get off of the block late and get involved. I don't think he necessarily gets credit for the tackle on a 2-yard gain. Still 3rd possession. We've skipped now to the 2nd quarter. Obviously, Arizona's going in the opposite direction. It's a 3rd and 13. Walked up 5 defenders on the line of scrimmage. I believe only 4 of them blitz. It's going to be an incomplete pass that Julian Love, intercepts. I actually wonder if he's almost lagging behind here. Kind of can see Love at the left-hand side of the screen, top left side of the screen. I almost wonder if he's lagging behind intentionally because he wants Murray to throw this football. It seems to me like there's a moment here where he's not closing down as quickly as he could be because he's waiting for the ball to be thrown. And then once it is, breaks on it, makes a beautiful interception. Of course, doesn't get his feet in bounds, so it doesn't count. It's still an amazing football play, if you ask me. 2nd quarter, they have taken over at the 50. So they got a short field in order to get their first down. It's their first field goal, It's still 0-0. Seattle's offense is doing nothing. I did watch, I think, the first 4 possessions late Sunday night, and then I'll be real with you. I decided to stop watching because I was really frustrated to check out the offense. And earlier Monday morning, I did finish watching the offense and watch the defense one more time through. When they're in this nickel set, Mike Macdonald does like to be multiple and dropping out outside linebackers. This is a cover 3. Boye Mafe is supposed to be in this depth area here. It's a great throw, don't get me wrong. And it's a great catch by Trey McBride, who had a career day, set a record, in fact, for Arizona. But it's difficult for me to be harsh on Boye Mafe. So check out the other guys who block, or excuse me, who end up at the second level of this zone defense, if you accept that this is, in fact, a cover three. So two of them were already lined up at the second level of the defense. The third, the safety, dropped down from depth. It shouldn't surprise us that Mafe doesn't have proper depth. Why? Because he was lined up at the line of scrimmage. So it's not easy to just drop out from the line of scrimmage and get to the same depth as the other second level defenders. Again, I'm calling this a cover three. You got outside leverage corners with their back to the sideline and their chest or their eyes into the middle of the field. 4 underneath droppers. I think that Mafe is supposed to be back pretty much at that same line. He's almost got to turn his back and get to that depth. In this case, he had come forward across the line of scrimmage. And look, it's a great throw by Kyler Murray and also an exceptional catch by McBride. Like I said, he set a franchise record for tight ends and didn't stop pretty much until the game was over. Another one, McBride, he's going to run kind of like an out route there, a deeper out concept, almost a sail. And this time they're not dropping Mafe out. He's rushing. So another second level defender. In this case, I think Reek Woolen, is a little too heavy in this direction. He's focused on and he sees the running back to the exclusion, however, of any routes that are emanating there. It's a cover two to that side, in my opinion, and he's a little bit too far forward on a 1st and 10. You do have to sink at some point. It's a nice route combination. I would just basically call it sail flood with a vertical by Marvin Harrison Jr., essentially a clear out, McBride, a deeper out, and then the running back here as bait for the corner in the flats. In this case, it's Woolen. He had trouble with that concept with covering the flats. I'm not saying that he has to go cover that deeper route concept by McBride. I think he's got to be a little bit more halfway in between, almost at the midpoint between the two. But I don't know how they teach it, and I don't know exactly what they want him to do when he's got a running back in the flats. But my opinion is they don't want him so close to the line of scrimmage, closer than all the other second-level defenders, such that Kyler Murray can throw it over the top and there's space provided for him. Touchdown was nullified here in this drive. This is the 4th possession still in the second quarter after the short taken over at the 50. This is the 3rd and 12 to Marvin Harrison Jr. after the touchdown was nullified to Wilson because of a hold. He's unable to get the second foot down there. I'm glad that Joby or Job, however you pronounce his name, I'm glad that he's been in the game some. I actually saw 2 or 3 reps of his that looked pretty good. Credit to Kyler Murray for throwing this ball so quickly on a 3rd and 12, getting it out there in a location such that Marvin Harrison Jr. could be able to make the catch, give the team an opportunity to get a touchdown. In this case, they had to settle for a field goal and take a 3-0 lead. It's still 3-0. We are 5.5 minutes left in the second quarter. The offense is getting 0 accomplished. And another look at how they're defending 12 personnel. So you've got 2 tight ends to the top side, and then 2 receivers, Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr., to the bottom side of the field. So keeping one of the corners, in this case Woolen, to the boundary, lined up close as a hard corner in the flats. And then now Witherspoon is the nickel defender with Joby or Job playing outside corner to the right to the field. From this platform, they were still able to stop and slow down the run because every defensive tackle that they put in the game was able to play well. In this case, Murphy is going to cross the face of the center and get to the front side. So when Connor takes this downhill, you have someone on the quarterback for the keep, and then also all running lanes to the front side for Connor are absolutely jammed up. I believe he had 7 carries for 8 yards overall on the day. He did have a couple of decent runs that were called back for penalty. Still the same possession, 3rd and 9. This one's going to be delayed incompletion to Marvin Harrison Jr. up to the top side against Reek Woolen. Hall comes free here on the rush and then ends up not containing Kyler Murray, who's able to spin out of there. Again, it's a 3rd and 9. It's 3-0 Arizona at this point, dropping out multiple defenders to the second level, Too high safety look post-snap, that is, along with pre-snap. Murray spins out of there because Hall, I think, takes a bad angle and then basically throws this one up for grabs to Marvin Harrison Jr. against Reek Woolen. I didn't expect him to make that catch. I'm not sure why anyone in that situation would test Woolen, who's got great hands, great size and extension, athletic ability, and ability to get up and deflect this one away from Marvin Harrison Jr. Moving forward now, later in the second quarter, Seattle, I believe, is now up 7-3. So this is their fifth possession defensively, I should say. Again, a nickel set with a minute left in the second quarter. You got two safeties. Nickel defender is Witherspoon once again. Woolen down to the bottom side as the boundary side corner, and Joby or Job to the top side to the field. A really nice job of redirecting receivers here and then allowing Woolen to focus man-to-man on the backside X. Murray gets sacked because of the internal pressure. They're running a stunt with the two defensive tackles, Williams, and then I believe this is Reed. They actually split this sack here. Williams was an absolute monster. By late Monday night, I'll have a video out, a film study video out on him, how he was able to absolutely dominate Arizona's offensive line. Same play from the end zone angle. Williams and Hall are trying to pump the crowd up. Pretty cool moment that he was able to do that before the snap and then also finish off the play. So this is an attempted switch or pick where I think they're trying to get Reed to fold over the top. And then watch what happens with Williams during the play here. He is setting the pick such that Reed is able to fold over the top. But also then Williams is able to split those two and go right down the middle, essentially walk the guard into Kyler Murray. Those two split the sack. A really, truly dominant first half by this defense. I'm only going to break down up to Kobe Bryant's 69-yard interception return. At that point, it seemed like the game was pretty much over at that point. One thing to mention is because they're in their nickel set against these heavy tight end groups, 12 personnel, 13, whatever, they weren't getting hands on the tight end at all. So McBride was getting free releases from a traditional tight end alignment pretty much the whole day. And I wonder, I don't know, I'm not saying this is the reality, I wonder if that contributed to him being on top of second-level defenders sooner because his route hadn't been impeded at all. So what I mean is, take a look at this alignment here. McBride is the inside tight end. Mafe is lined up wider, that wide 9 alignment. You've got a 3 technique to that side D tackle. You pretty much have to. Otherwise, you have a 3-gap bubble instead of a 2-gap bubble. Now, this is a play action with a Jill ISO look. So McBride steps to Mafe, and the other tight end inserts and runs kind of like a vertical route. They're trying to occupy Julian Love, whose feet you can see there at the top right side of the screen. Additional to this, and I think I give you the all-22 after this play, Reek Woolen is looking for a crosser. No one is on the tight end. This happened to Woolen twice in this game, in my opinion. I understand there's different ways for people to play it. It's just sheer math at this point when they're running this into the boundary. Again, keep in mind, the nickel defender is off screen over here to our left. The Seahawks defense is right. So as Murray boots out into the boundary, there's only so many players who can get involved here. So if it's supposed to be the edge defender is supposed to contain the quarterback, which I believe he is, then who's supposed to cover the tight end? In my opinion, it should be Reek Woolen. And when you get the all-22 angle, you'll see it. This happened twice in the game. I think it's somewhat conceptually related to the cover 2 completion to McBride that I showed you earlier. Same play from the all-22. Witherspoon is the nickel defender. So you don't have that bonus defender up here into the boundary. You've only got the inside linebacker, edge defender, and the hard corner. That's the reason why the corner is there, in my opinion. Since he sees the block by McBride, he thinks McBride is staying into block, so he's going to fold back or fall back, looking to help out with either this tight end or a crosser from the other side of the field. And you can play it that way. There's no problem with playing that way at times, but someone has to be on McBride. In my opinion, it's supposed to be Woolen in that area. But from a from a pre-snap matchup standpoint, the Seahawks, are thinking Woolen's going to take the outside tight end and the safety's going to take the inside tight end. So when they do a Jill ISO concept, which is the inside tight end stepping out to the edge defender, and then the outside tight end stepping inside, it almost kind of switches your responsibility. And in this case, Love seems to understand that. And Woolen is looking for work because he thinks he can release McBride. There's no one else to take him over. It ends up being a 13-yard gain. Kind of an elongated discussion of that play. I understand other people may have different interpretation of it. Pre-snap responsibility in man and post-snap responsibility in man can certainly change depending on the release, especially when you have two tight ends lined up tight to the formation, to the right tackle. Still that same possession. They're sixth in the third quarter. We're about 10 minutes left. It is still 7-3 Seattle. Three safety look. And McBride is going to release into the boundary. Again, after chipping. And I believe you're getting a clear out route down here to the bottom side of the field. So it's taking Woolen with him. Love and Kobe Bryant are both focused to the side. They've dropped the nickel defender back to a middle of the field. Post-snap, a middle of the field responsibility. So it's all man up to the top side. Unless you get a post or an in cut, theoretically Witherspoon could help. But again, no one is on McBride into the boundary from a trips or a bunch set. That's the only thing really that would concern me coming out of this game is how Arizona was able to consistently get their tight end open underneath of the defense or over top of the second level. Still that 6-possession third quarter, again 7-3 Seattle. We're skipping forward a number of plays. 12 personnel ace. And this is a great job by Woolen, recognizing that, okay, I'm going to jam Harrison Jr. as best I can, but he's got great eyes here and sees the running back, in this case Benson, on a 2nd and 3. Benson had just run for 7 yards on the 1st and 10. And in this case, 55 Jones has set the left tackle back into the backfield, I believe almost 2 yards back into the backfield. And that causes the running back Benson to have to bow it out right into Reek Woolen, who makes the tackle for no gain. Very next play, 3rd and 3. And you can see there's 11 personnel on the field, so McBride is the only tight end. And how do you get this accomplished, stopping the run on a same-side run concept? So the edge defender is so wide. If you just give it downhill, shouldn't you theoretically be able to pick up 1 or 2 yards, if not the 3 that's required on a 3rd and 3? The D tackles have to win, and they did. When you watch the film, this is Murphy absolutely setting the guard back into the backfield, attacking across the line of scrimmage, and then shedding multiple guys there. Knight, Jones, Hall also folded down. Reed from the backside was able to shed his block. A dominant performance by the interior defensive lineman really dissuaded Arizona from certain calls like this one throughout much of the day. End zone angle of the same play. So you can see how wide Hall is lined up outside the tight end. You have a huge 2-gap bubble here. B-gap open, C-gap open by alignment into the boundary out of 11 personnel. You would think that Arizona picks this one up easily. Murphy has done a nice job of initially getting his head to this side and now flashing his head to the side where Connor goes. Hall closing down from the outside. I believe this is Ernest Jones IV, also collapsing to that side. Reed sheds his gap. 4 guys there. Unbelievable effort. When I say they were swarming, I think you saw it if you watched the game live, which if you've listened this long, A, you're obviously a Seahawks fan, and B, you were watching it live. One thing to note on the 4th down, the 4th and 1, the interception by Kobe Bryant. It's the same exact play concept that Arizona had used on a 4th and 1 earlier in the year against Detroit. I know because I watched that game live. And a very similar dynamic in that Wilson will pin down on the edge defender, and then he will release out into the flats. I just don't think Kyler Murray has great ball fakes here. How often under center do they do this? Not often. And I don't think his footwork is great either. There seems to be a little bit of a lack of patience. It's debatable whether he gets this one or not. Personally, I actually think his knee is down. It's a nice job by Carlton Davis III. He does kind of get sucked inside a little bit too much for the way that I would prefer him to play this. And as a result, Kyler Murray almost gets there. Regardless of what your opinion is of whether it's a first down or not, I think if Carlton Davis III was able to set that, be across the line of scrimmage, and not give up outside position better, then the Lions would have made a more clear stop. It did actually get, upon review, ruled that Kyler Murray was short. So here's the fourth down yesterday that we opened this video with. And the thing to note is they're still in a too high safety look. I recall when Mike Macdonald was hired, he talked about stopping the run from a split safety look, and I've seen, clearly since being a Ravens fan and Ravens content creator, I've seen him operate out of that platform in 2022 and 2023. Look at how Witherspoon does this. He sees that the ball is not handed off, and then baseball turns out of here clockwise to run with Kyler Murray, who's an amazing athlete, clearly drafted a high-level Major League Baseball player, fast, athletic quarterback. Nonetheless, in this situation, Wilson was extended a little bit further out than perhaps the design of the play. You can see he blocks down on the edge defender along with the tight end, and then Wilson releases in the flat. This is Kobe Bryant, who's staying on top of it from a deeper alignment and is the beneficiary of a ball that's thrown a little bit high. When you get the end zone angle, you'll see Witherspoon kind of celebrate for a moment on Arizona's sideline, and then he's got such great burst and athleticism. He's able to get back into the play after he briefly stopped playing. And I think the camera's shaking there. It's the all-22 angle, so the only thing that I can guess is the stands or the bleachers that it was in must have been shaking from people being excited, because it's not bouncing yet at all. Try to take note of it. Hopefully you guys can see it on my streaming, on the way that I'm streaming, how it starts to bounce after he intercepts the ball. To me, that can only mean that Seattle's crowd was just absolutely going crazy. Again, it was 7-6 at the point of that interception. End zone angle, same play. I just don't feel like Kyler Murray does a nice job of actually faking anything, although in this case, Witherspoon and Woolen are designed to be the force players. Murray is trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. He can't do so. Witherspoon is right in his grill. And this is what I'm talking about. Witherspoon briefly stops playing football to celebrate, or just make sure that Kyler Murray doesn't get back in the play. And then he decides to get downfield, and this is beautiful. He's able to get his head in front such that it's not considered a block in the back. He's able to finish in front of Connor. And Kobe Bryant takes it to the house. Pretty cool, man. I remember Kobe Bryant's rookie year. I thought he played well. And then last year, only played, I believe, in 9 games. Didn't have nearly as much of an impact. I don't know what the evaluations or the thoughts were from Seahawks fans. I can't pretend to know those things. But what I do know is the last 5 games, he seems to be playing well. The run defense has drastically improved in the last 3 weeks. Is it sustainable? Are there going to be teams that come in there and are able to get things going downhill on them? We're going to find out. They play the Jets next week, who are a really struggling offense, clearly, and then go to Arizona, who is going to be able to look at the film and try to figure out ways to attack Mike Macdonald's defense. When they play like this, particularly at home, there actually seemed to be 12 guys on the field. They were so fast and aggressive. The reads were so quick at inside linebacker level. I thought the edge defenders and defensive tackles were really dominant, particularly the D tackles. Williams, Murphy, Reed. All of those guys had moments where they won their individual battles against an offensive lineman and were able to make plays that maybe they, quote, shouldn't based on the offensive scheme that was and the blocking assignments that was there. I appreciate you guys' time, man. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comment section. I haven't been able to do much Seahawks content at all just because of time constraints. With the Ravens playing Monday night and the Seahawks and Lions playing on Sunday, it made it a whole lot easier for me to finally get something out for you guys, so my apologies for that. I will have a film study video out on Leonard Williams and his big day, hopefully late Monday night, either at halftime of the Monday Night Football game or once it completes. Appreciate you guys' time. If you think other Seahawks fans would enjoy this film study look at how the defense turned things around against the Cardinals, but has also done so really in the last 3 weeks, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.